This stream is I'm gonna make a NBA quiz game. Once again, this is from a book called Scratch 2.0 Programming for Teens by Jerry Lee Ford. The way the program works is you get introduced to the game, you click on the sprite when you're ready, and then she asks you some questions, and you click on the boxes on the right to put in your answers. There's 5 questions. You can see also it keeps track of your score. And just to show you what it looks like when you get one wrong. So if I said 35, I'd get incorrect. I wouldn't get the score bump. And then we go from there. As you can see, some of the formatting from the text is a little funny. That's one of the things that's really tricky sometimes working with Scratch in this type of format. And we'll troubleshoot some ideas there. We're really going to focus a lot on how to get these boxes really aligned well, just how to get the stage set up nicely so that everything looks good, and then run through the logic of the program. So, all right, let's go ahead and rock and roll. So, first thing you do, create a new program. So give it a title. And I'm not going to use the cat, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Once again, you can right-click to delete, right-click down here, or you can use the little scissors icon to delete them. First thing I want to do is add the new backdrop. It's right here. It's this brick wall. And then I'm going to add the sprite, and I believe the sprite we use is, oh yeah, the one in this setup is called Ruby. So I'm going to go to the people category, find her, she's right here. I'm going to move over here. I'm going to make her a little bit larger. So an easy way to do that is go over here to looks, and I'm going to set size to 140%. So I'm just going to type in 140. And then if I just click on this block, she'll get bigger. She ends up looking a little bit pixelated this way. But the size is really what matters here. Okay. Just getting her to sort of fill the screen. So what we're also going to do is we're gonna paint our own sprite, and what this sprite is going to be is it's going to be the text you see right here. Welcome to the NBA trivia quiz. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is I clicked on paint my own sprite, and then in the costumes tab, I'm going to go ahead and get the text option, and I'm going to. Let's see, what is the text again? Welcome to the NBA trivia quiz. Welcome to the NBA trivia quiz. And then, let's see here. What font? I don't know what that font is. Oof. That they use. Oh yeah, they just use the marker font. That's what's set up here. And then we go with this kind of color, if we go and select that, so you get something that looks like this. I'm just going to move it over here. So in this color shows up pretty well on the brick, so it looks decent. Then you can adjust the size and things of this if you want. If you want to use a different font, different color, that's totally fine. All right. Now the next part that I want to walk through is how to get these boxes here on the side with the letters in them. All right. So this is actually a sprite that's in the library. I think if I go to things, this is button 3. Now you could use one of these buttons, or you could actually paint a sprite with your own shape in it. I think these buttons look pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the first button up over here. So you get it right here. And then I'm going to right-click on it and duplicate it. Okay. And yeah, get these buttons lined up here. Okay, now, as you can see, trying to place them perfectly in line is a little tricky. So this is where you can use actually some of the code blocks to help you get this set up. All right. So right now, yeah. And the other thing we want to do here is it's a little strange. You have button 3, button 2, button 4, button 5. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here and change some of the names of the sprites. This is just the text, so I'm just going to call it that. And then these buttons, these are ultimately going to be A, B, C, and D. So I'm going to call them button A. And button B. Yeah, let's go through and do that. This will help keep them straight as far as when we're actually setting up the code with the letters and the answers. Okay, so now I want button A at top, so and that's where it is right now. So button B, I'm going to want to get lined up perfectly underneath it. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to click on button B, I'm going to go to motion, and I'm going to tell it to go to button A, and just click there. Okay, so now it's right on top of button A. And then what I wanted to do is I want to move it down. So let's see what it looks like if I move it down by 50. So I'm going to change Y by -50. All right. All right, it wasn't quite enough. Okay, let's go back here. Let's do -70. That's a little too far. I should have done -60. Ooh, that's pretty good. Okay, so now you can see because I moved it to the other button and then moved it down a certain amount, it's lined up perfectly underneath it. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do with each other button. So I'm going to go to button C, move it to button B, and then move it down the same amount. So now they're all perfectly lined up underneath each other. Well, once I get this guy done. So move it to button C and change Y, -60. Okay. Now they're all in line. This could be adjusted. I'd probably want to maybe move these down a little bit, but let's actually do that. So I'm going to move each one down just -10. So, and that's something once you get here, I can just move them all the same amount and they'll still be lined up. And I'm not adding these scripts to the script area here because this is just for the setup. I'm not doing anything with the actual code. Once the program runs, I don't want those to move. So this is just in getting the initial setup. All right, now what I need to do here is for button A, I'm going to actually change, add a little letter in here. Doop. And I think it's going to be, so it's still going to be, yeah, okay, so I don't want that. Let's go back to Helvetica, this nice black, and then if I can get this, okay, let's grab it. Get it in the middle there. It looks pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my my other blocks. So add some text. Now the font and everything should be set up. Oops. Yeah, and there's probably an easier way to get these all set up and centered, but yeah, I'm just going to put them in there for now so I don't spend too much time on this. Over just a little bit. Okay. All right. Cool. So we at least have the buttons. The lettering's a little off center, but we're just going to move on for now. So All right. So now we have the scene set up. All right. The way this program is going to run is, once again, you're going to click the flag, get a little introduction, and then it's really going to trigger. This is something where we're handling different types of events, and everything's going to trigger based on clicking on Ruby and then clicking on A, B, C, or D to actually input the answers. So this is a different type of user input. The Scratch has this built-in ask and wait, where we could ask a question and then wait for the user to type in an answer. But here we're making a multiple choice quiz, so we actually want to wait for them to click on an answer in order to do that. All right. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to make a couple different variables. Okay, and let me come down here. Yeah. So we're going to need a variable called answer. All right. And make sure you make it for all sprites. We're going to have a variable called clicked and a variable called score. Now, by default, we have these monitors that are turned on here. I actually do want the score, okay? So I'm going to move that down here below. I'm going to leave these guys up here for now when I'm testing, but once we actually run the program, I'm going to take these out, all right? So what we need to do now is, so what these variables are for, the score is pretty self-explanatory. This is going to keep track of our score based on how many we get correct and how many we don't. The clicked is what's going to help us set up the program so we know when something is clicked. When I click on one of these boxes, it's going to set this to 1, and I'm going to have the program set up to wait for that to happen. And then the answer is just going to line up to, based on what I click here, what did I set the answer to? All right. So first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to set up each of the boxes, right? So whenever each one is clicked, this is going to trigger something in the game. So when A is clicked, I'm going to go into data, and I'm going to set, but I'm not going to set score. I'm going to set clicked to 1, and then I'm also going to set answer to 1. Okay. Now for each of these, I'm going to have very similar code. So I'm just going to drag this into B, drag this into C, and drag this into D. Each one of these is going to be the same. We're still going to set clicked to 1, and we'll see in the next script why we do that, but we're going to set the answers to different values. Essentially 1, 2, 3, 4 representing A, B, C, D. Okay. With Scratch, you could set these to letters, but numbers are a little safer because you don't have to worry about syntax, spacing, anything else. It recognizes that a number is a number. Whereas a letter, if you type a letter and it's going to look for like exactly that letter, and sometimes that can lead to some issues, especially if you have extra white space that you didn't know was in there. All right, so those are the buttons, and now what we're going to do is set up sort of the start of the game and then the actual questions, and that's the longest script. So I'm going to handle the rest of this inside Ruby. So when the flag is clicked, she's going to give a little introduction, and we also want to make sure that we've reset all our variables in case the game is started or stopped somewhere strange in the middle. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set score to 0, I'm going to set answer to 0, and I'm going to set clicked to 0. Boom, done. All right. And then we're just going to do a brief little introduction here. So I'm going to have her say a couple things. So we'll add 2 of these say blocks. We'll say, welcome to the NBA quiz, or NBA trivia quiz. And give the next command. Click on me when you are ready to begin. So when we do that, everything gets reset here. She says welcome, and then click on me when you're ready. All right. Once again, I'm going to get rid of these, but this will be a good illustration for as we get through. So she's asking you to click on her. So now we need this next event. When this sprite is clicked, what are we going to do? And so I'm just going to run through the questions that were set up for this program initially. And we're going to add just a wait 1 second just to make sure that when you click, there's a little bit, it doesn't just pop up right away. Okay. And then we're going to ask a question. And actually for this, we're going to just use a say block and not a say for 2 seconds. I'll show you why in just a minute. So the first one is, on which NBA team did Michael Jordan play? And then we put in our options. A, the Bulls. B, the Rockets. C, the Celtics. Oops. And D, the Mavericks. Now, he did also play for the Wizards, but we're just going to, sort of ignore that right now. All right, and then we're going to add a new block, okay? This is the wait until block. This is the key to this program. So this question is going to stay on the screen. We want to set it up so this question stays on the screen until we've clicked on one of the boxes. So what we're going to wait until is we're going to grab this. We're going to go into operators and grab this equal sign. And we're going to wait until clicked equals 1. If you remember, we set up each of the buttons so that when they're clicked becomes 1. And at the start of the game, we set click to 0. So when we initialize the game, she's going to ask this question. Well, let me just show you how that looks. And then I click on her, and she asks this question. And the question will stay on the screen until I click one of these. Now, one thing to note, you notice how one thing, when you set it up this way, there's no way to really control, you can't put really a return statement in here. Escape characters might work, but I have not tried them in Scratch. What you can do is try to put in white space between some of these to try to get each one of these on a new line. I've had some issues when I switch between different computers that spacing that works in one place doesn't work as well in another. But it's something we can mess with, and that's something I may do on is just show you how that looks and what you can do with that. But we'll come back to that. So now it's still waiting, but as soon as I click on one of the boxes, okay, well, it clicked became 1. Oh, and then we need to go from there. So, but clicked is now 1, and the script now has the ability to move on. We just have nothing else that's happening. All right. So I'm going to stop this, and let's go ahead and see where we're going to go from here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, as soon as this happens, we want to set clicked back to 0 so that it'll run through the rest of the logic and then be ready to go for the next question. We're now going to check the answer. Okay. So once again, I want to check if I got the answer correct. Now the correct answer here is A, so I want to check now if answer equals 1. 1 is A. If it is, that's great. We can change our score. All right, we're going to give ourselves 20 points. So if we get a perfect score, 5 out of 5, we're going to have 5 questions. We'll get a 100. And then we're gonna say that. All right, we're gonna say correct. Otherwise, we're gonna say incorrect. And then we're gonna add a wait, and then we're gonna add another question. So let's just see what this looks like. So I click here. She introduces the game. I click on her. She asks the question. I click A. She tells me I'm correct. Score goes up. Okay. So let's look at what happens if I click on an incorrect answer. So she's waiting. I click on C. She tells me incorrect. My score did not increase. You can see because answer was 3, so it didn't check out here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're essentially going to add 3 or 4 more questions. Now, all the code is pretty much going to be the same, except the text will be different, and what the answer is going to be different. But everything else is going to be the same. So I'm just going to copy and paste the code from here. So I'm going to click here. Whoops. Just need to right click. To duplicate, it's going to grab all the code. I'm going to pop it underneath here. Okay. So the next question, let me go back to the original here, is how many minutes make up a quarter? So and the options are 8, 10, 12, and 15. All right. The correct answer here is C. So I still want to wait until clicked is 1, but now I want to check if the answer is 3, because that would be C. All right. So that's all set. So I'm going to duplicate this, pop it down here. The next question is, in which host city do the Wizards play? The options we're going to give are Washington, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and I don't remember what I put. Oh, Boston. Okay. All right. So the correct answer here is Washington. So we'll go ahead and check and see if the answer is 1. All right. 2 more questions to go. The next one is how many seconds in the NBA shot clock? Oops, the NBA shot clock. And we'll give options of 20, 24, 30, and 35. All right. The correct answer is 24, so I want to check if the answer is 2. And then finally, last one, we're going to come down here, and now I'm going to ask on which team does Kobe Bryant play? I guess now I can make that past tense. Team did Kobe Bryant play? And we're going to give an option as the Nets, the Pistons, the Celtics. A good wrong answer would have been the Hornets, since he was originally drafted by them and traded on draft day. But of course the answer here is the Lakers. That's option D, so we're going to check if the answer is 4. All right, so now we've got all the questions, and what you can do is at this point you can test and see how that works, and make sure all the questions work properly. This would also be a good time to double check all the spacing, see if everything sort of looks good on each of the questions. You can adjust some of the spacing between here and go from there. So Jordan played for the Bulls. And when you're really testing this, yeah, it's good to see do the correct answers work, but you also want to go through and make sure the incorrect answers work. Okay. So let's do that. NBA shot clock, let's say it's 35. Ooh, that's incorrect. The points didn't go up. That's good. Kobe Bryant played for the Lakers. That's correct. Okay. So now the last thing we need to do here is we need to make sure that this is set up to give us some final feedback on how we did. Okay. So and for that we're going to look at basically we're just going to make this a did I pass or fail. Okay. So on this final wait, I'm going to change this final wait to 2 seconds. And then we're going to get another one of these if else blocks. Scroll down here. And for this, we're going to have passed if we got above a 60, meaning we got 4 or 5 answers correct. So I'm going to go to operators. I'm going to this time get the greater than symbol. And I'm going to check here. Was my score greater than 60? Okay. If it is, I'm going to say you passed. Otherwise, I'm going to say, sorry, you failed. Try again soon. So, sorry, you failed. Try again soon. Oh, I'll add a little congratulations up here too. Relations. Okay. Something you could add into your programs is, add some sound effects, some sort of a clapping sound here or something here. Something you could also add to the blocks where, when you click on a block, you can add a little pop sound or something. There's all sorts of things you could add to the program. Okay. The last thing you can do is, and this last part isn't totally necessary since we reset everything on the start, but it can be good just to make sure that everything's going to work right and everything's done. I'm going to reset all the variables back to 0. So score, answer, clicked. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the cap block here to just stop all the processes, make sure everything's done, everything's reset, and then you can try it again. All right. So the quiz game should be good to go. We'll give it, ultimately at this point you should test it at least twice. One where you get enough correct to trigger the you passed, and then another time to make sure you can get the option for you failed. And ultimately, once again, I'm really not happy with the way the text is formatted here. So that's another thing you could spend some time on, is just adding spaces between the A, B, C's, and D's until you try to get them all on different lines to try to get everything lined up nicely. We played for the Lakers. Okay, we got 100%. She should tell me we passed. Yay! Okay, and we're good to go. Then everything stops. Everything resets again. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off these two monitors up here so it's a little cleaner. Another thing you can do is if you right-click on score, you can do a large readout so it just gives you the point total. Okay. If you like the way that looks a little bit better, if you'd rather have the label with it, right-click on it, do the normal readout. Okay. I'm gonna do that. All right. Last thing we need to do is on the project page, add some instructions. Click the green flag to test your NBA knowledge. And once again, I'm going to add the credit here that this program is from the textbook Scratch 2.0 programming. For teens by Jerry Lee Ford. And then once it's all set, I think it looks good, I'll share it, and now it's available for the world to see and try.